So somebody asked me, hey, Gun, do you have any more stories about natives or the others? And I said, in fact, I do. I have a story that was crazy, man. And it involved the natives and the others. And how just because these two groups people think don't politic like the other groups like North and South or even the Crips, the Bloods, or the Woods, brother, they definitely politic, man. They definitely got their own rules and regulations. And when you're in prison, everybody is about that action. Everybody is about holding it down for their own. Well, I was on a particular yard where the native card was pretty deep. There was a lot of natives. There was also a nice handful of others. And, you know, the others, of course, are the Asians, the Pacific Islanders, the Tongans, the Samoans. Albeit, man, they don't politic maybe as hard as you know, prison gang members and other people that have things going on. But they definitely got their shit going on as well. They definitely got their hand in the cookie jar. And if anyone disrespects them or tries to overstep, you know, what they got going on, they're going to get off. They're going to get off viciously. And I did a lot of business behind the scenes with the natives just because, you know, everybody knows that the natives got all the money on the yard. You know, especially if you're on a prison yard, man, and you decide to get involved in the dope game and slang, you want to have a native in pocket. Everyone will tell you, any faction will tell you the natives are the ones, their money's always good. Their money's long, it's strong, and it's known to get the friction on, right? It's good. Because if you can't pay, you can't play. So there was a couple of natives on this yard and they were having money, man. They were having it their way. I mean, the natives had all the tobacco, any type of, or any little piece of dope that hit that yard. Somehow, some way, the natives wanted it. And they hit, the natives hit, you know. So these guys had everything, man. They had all the TVs. They looked out for their people. You know, that's one thing I could say about the natives as well as the others. They make sure all their people are well taken care of. 90% of the people that are incarcerated, they have no fucking support. They have no family support. Their family dips out on them or their family's tired of their shit. And people were noticing this like, damn, the natives are balling. You know, they always had the fresh clothing. Because like I said, everything in prison's a hustle. You know, they can get the clothing, the best visiting clothes. They had all the commissary. Their packages were all chunky and fat. You know, $400 packages. They were paying like they were weighing. And everyone knows in prison that the natives got it. But on this particular yard, they really had it, you know. They were buying up all the dope, buying up all the drink. You know, people would make White Lightning or Pruno take it out to the yard, and natives needed all that. And what had happened was there was a young Uso that was there. Well, these natives, man, someone had hit on the yard for some major-ass crank, right? Some old-school dope. And the natives bought it all. So anyways, this Uso dude was working. And what he would do is he would fucking move things, like I said, from building to building. So these natives had hit, man, or they had, you know, copped. And they had a lot of their native partners they wanted to look out for them. So what they would do is they would break this Uso dude off just a little bit. You know, hey, here, bro, can you move this for me? Hey, can you get this to this building or can you get this over here? So anyways, this guy was doing that and the natives had got at him like, hey, bro, you know what I'm saying? If you can get this over here, we got you some tobacco or we got you a little sack. And that was going good for a while. But just like the movie American Me, remember when that black dude pinched the sack? You know what I mean? Who copped his wire? Remember that? Well, guess what? They felt that this Uso dude was copying these guys' wire, that he was pitching the sack. They were shooting a little dope, they were shooting whatever over to other buildings, and it was coming up short, it was coming up light, and somehow that got back to the natives. And like I said, man, the indigenous people will get real old school on you, okay? They're very respectful, but they don't get played out of pocket. No group does in prison. Doesn't matter how deep you are. There could be 2 or 3 natives on that yard. They're going to hold it down for their people. It's what it is. So they approached the Uso dude. I remember they had walked up on him, you know, in the yard, and they were like, hey, they were on the track. We need to get at you guys. I was chopping up with the Usos, like, what's up, bro? Are you guys good? Because we functioned on the same side of the yard with the Usos and the blacks, the Crips, Bloods, Kumis, non-affiliated, and the Muslims, right? So, like, me and the homeboys are like, hey, are you guys good? You know, because the natives were on the other side, like, fuck that, homies. We can get Civil War cracking, Hatfield McCoy shit. And they were like, yeah, now this dude's accusing the homie of stealing. So the Usos were like, nah, the homie ain't doing that. But he was, though. Here's the cool part, is he was. You know what I'm saying? The young Us was pitching the sack. He was, I guess he got comfortable in his job and felt he had that coming. Because these natives had him running everywhere. Especially when you got a whole prison full of criminals. Dudes that are out there gangbanging. Dudes that are out there that don't give a fuck. They want to test the limits. There's always going to be that one that wants to test the boundary. And so instead of this, he made a bad move. Instead of getting at the natives and like, hey, bro, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to go ahead and need more paper. He just decided to take upon himself to pinch the sacky sack. So, of course, you have dudes on the yard. The shit wasn't even fucking clean, man. Right? Hey, déjale güero. What's wrong with you? The fuck is sick, man. Dudes were getting sick because their sacks were getting pinched. And like I said, it was only obvious who was doing it. But he denied it. And so the natives were tripping. So the natives got all their weaponry together. Okay? They decided they were going to go out on the yard and they were going to have a powwow. You know what I'm saying? They were going to make someone sweat. They were going to do a buffalo round, right? And the Usos felt it coming. You know, I've seen North and South incidences, very, very, very few. More so in the youth authority than prison. I don't think I ever seen a big riot or melee happen in prison between Norteños and Southsiders. I've seen whites and Southsiders tear the fucking yard down. I've seen blacks and Southsiders. I've seen North and blacks. I've participated in that, tear the motherfucking roof off the building. Motherfuckers was getting stabbed in the house, right? I've seen every group, but I've never seen the natives and the Usos. Or it's just never popped like that, the others. And so what happened was, I guess the Usos had gotten at an elder, which is when I say an elder, that's an older native, kind of the guy who's running the show for them. Again, they don't have shot callers, but they have elders, guys that they look up to, that, been around. This guy had been around for a long time. He had been down already like 40 years, just an OG, didn't indulge in drugs, wasn't even involved in that, kind of stuck to himself, did his little beading and making his little dream catchers and all that, but was really a dangerous individual, had been known to have caught bodies in Old Folsom, San Quentin back in the days. Just an old vet that could dance underwater and not get wet, right? The feathers in his head were still there. So a lot of the Usos got at him and they understood that, hey, yeah, we know our homeboy's trying to play. He's lying to us too. Look, you guys can fucking have him on the yard. They sacrificed their homeboy, but they said only he gets touched. So this is what happens, right? So they're going to let him hit the track, get his heart pumping, and let the natives tear his ass up. It just is what it is. Okay, nobody knew that day exactly what was going to happen and why it was going to kick off. But all these natives came out strapped. You hear about these 3 or 4 yards. Wes Watson, you son of a bitch. What'd you hoop right there? Is that a pedazo? No, I thought we were supposed to just bring out our paperwork. Yeah, all right, fuckface. So these guys all brought out pieces. Okay? And they knew, I guess they had a couple hitters. They were going to get off on this Uso. And that was it. It was going to be as simple as that. And of course, they were going to do a little lockdown until the fucking administration figured it out, the goon squad. And then you fucking resume yard, program time. And as long as it doesn't involve other groups, no one cares. That's their business, right? But there was a mistake that happened. So this young Uso's walking the yard with his celly, okay? His celly was an Asian dude. So the natives approached this dude on the fucking track and started to whack him. And his celly got involved. And see, the natives were under the assumption that that wasn't going to happen. That it was just going to be boom, boom, tear him up, tear him down, and get on about your business. But no, oh no, right? This Asian dude started fighting too. It's a celly. Celly's getting stabbed in front of him. He probably freaked out and was getting off. And man, all the natives took out rushing towards the Usos. Usos met him in that middle of the yard. And man, they started to get it, bro. This was the first time I ever seen like fucking the natives and the Usos really getting it like that with weaponry. I mean, these were pulling out knives out of, it would have made fucking Wes Watson proud. It smelled like shit on that yard by the time they were done. Blood and shit, they were really getting it. There was, by the end of that yard, there was a gang of Usos laid out. Others, man, I remember there was this old man who was an other, and he wasn't Uso, he wasn't Asian. He was like, I don't know where he was from. I think he was from a different country, but he was allowed to rock with the others. And man, they laid his ass out. Them natives was on his ass. And that's what happens, man. When you become a victim, you really become a victim. Now, it was a trip because these natives, they were taking off running from every direction, man. I think they had pre-planned, like if anything happens, we're just going to fucking tear it all down. Because remember, at the end of the day, they were the ones with the grudge. They were the ones getting burnt. And I can tell you right now, that day, man, the natives they got off, bro. They did it viciously. It was crazy. I remember they were on lockdown for a little while.